I'd like to call the regular meeting of City Council to order, along with our Committee of the Whole for Monday, December 20th. And we have some first order of business this morning. We have some special guests in our delegation joining us today. And these are the 2021 Community Award winners. And it's a real pleasure to have them, honestly, in council this morning for our final meeting of the year. And 2021 Community Awards, we had unbelievable input into and participation in our community awards this year. There were 1,553 votes this year compared to 770 last year, which is absolutely double. And it's really, honestly, to me, it's just such an amazing and cool statement where you see the interest in our community. Nominating folks and organizations for these awards and then participating in it. And just thrilled this morning to be able to start first to present the awards to the community award winners and to be able to give a little recognition to them on behalf of Mayor and Council and the city. There are 5 awards: the Youth of the Year, the Entrepreneur of the Year, the Business of the Year, the Citizen of the Year, and the Inclusive Business of the Year award. And so our first award I want to call up is our Youth of the Year. And so Addison, if you'd like to come up and join the mayor, and come and stand beside the mayor, because this is a very cool, I want to be beside her because she's a very cool little girl.
I won't bite you.
And I won't bite you, all right? So this is Addison Webb. And Addison won the Youth of the Year, and she's 9 years old, or will be 9 years old. She was top fundraiser for KPAC in 2017 and 19. She spent countless hours at the farmer's market selling chocolates. She's raised a total of $3,300 for KPAC. In 2019, she cut her hair and donated it to Wigs for Cancer patients. The past summer, she held a lemonade stand with all her own supplies that she either purchased by herself or were handmade. You're unbelievable. She sold her beloved toys and books to buy her supplies. Her lemonade stands raised a total of $1,550 for Nawakan Bergeron Youth and Cultural Center in memory of the lives lost and to honor Indian residential school survivors. She volunteers at the Nawakan Friendship Center, Nawakan, whenever she gets a chance. She's an extremely busy little girl who loves to help those in need with a huge smile on her face. And so, to me, that's absolutely crazy that you're 9 years old and you've accomplished all of this stuff already. And we're so proud of you that you've done this for our community, Addison. And so we want to present you with the Youth of the Year. I'm going to take it out because it's pretty special. There you go, sweetheart. All right. So we'll take a picture and you show everybody your award. And great job. Congratulations. Thank you for everything you've done, Addison. You're amazing. And we want to wish you a very Merry Christmas. And we hope you have an amazing 2022.
All right. Good job, Addison.
Here's the, there you go. There you go. Thank you. The next award goes to the Entrepreneur of the Year. And I just want to read this. Entrepreneur of the Year. There were 3 nominees, Jolene Taves, Mike Sudnick, and Amanda Morgan. And Entrepreneur of the Year this year goes to Amanda Morgan, Planning Design, and Emerge. Come up and we'll read a little. So we've known Amanda, obviously, for a few years. They took on, Amanda and Allison took on the community Home for the Holidays, and it was an amazing event, and then just has continued to build and develop opportunities for as an entrepreneur, and just love the giving back into our community and the support that you've given, and to me it's so cool that you been nominated and won the Entrepreneur of the Year award. And this award is sponsored by the Community Futures Peasley Art. And
Make your computer.
we want to thank you so much for everything that you've done and given, and congratulations. It's just so cool that we get to do this today.
All right.
Dad, do you want to come up and get a picture?
Perfect.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Same to you.
Business of the Year, and they're running a little bit late, I understand. I'm not sure if they're here yet or not. So we'll go next to our Citizen of the Year, sponsored by the City of Dawson Creek. Nominees this year were Lloyd Garvin, our own Lloyd Garvin, Rhonda Pilchinski, Alec Reshny, and Eddie Ma. And the winner is Eddie Ma.
Thank you very much.
So Eddie, obviously, for all of us who've born and raised in Dawson Creek, and the Ma family, and Eddie, I think we've known each other a couple of years.
3 or 4, I believe.
Grew up together, and obviously to see him recognized for the work that he's done into our community is just so special to me, and thrilled when we saw the award, and he just continues to give and organize, and the cruisers and the hiking clubs and all the farmers market and on and on and on, outside of just the amazing stuff they do on behalf of Bing's Furniture and the business, Eddie. So it's a real pleasure for me, obviously, to be able to present this to you today on behalf of the City of Dawson Creek as our Citizen of the Year for 2021.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Just wanted to say a few words, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
My grandfather, I think some of you may have known, ran New Palestine Cafe back in the, a long time ago. Let's put it that way. And my dad started Bing's Furniture in 1959, passed away last November. I miss him every day. I accept this word for myself and my dad.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next award I'm going to go to is our Business of the Year, and this is sponsored by the Dawson Creek and District Chamber of Commerce. The nominees this year were Coffee and Kitchen No. 9, Beans and Barley, Nowickan Friendship Center, George Dawson Liquor Store, Mountain View Safety, Meng Fang, George Dawson Inn, Arc Resources, DC Cannabis, the Northern Toy Box, Nimitz Beef, Uncle Buddy's Automotive, Dawson Creek Medical Clinic and Fitness for Life. It's crazy. There's an example of the input and attention, that participation that people put into this community awards, which is, I think, so special. And the winners of the Business of the Year this year were Beans and Barley. And so if I can have Jenny and Troy come up, and we'll, and the kids. We're good. Bring the boys up. Yeah, he's coming. Good morning. Congratulations,
Yeah.
you guys. Congratulations. Congratulations, boys. Don't leave me hanging. So obviously, both longtime family residents of Dawson Creek, and starting this enterprise, this business in our community has just been so amazing to watch, and the success of it. And we're just thrilled to be able to present you guys with the Business of the Year for 2021, and congratulations. Oh, and there's the boys wanting tours. So thank you guys, congratulations, Merry Christmas, all the best. Thank you. Thank you. And the fifth award this year is the Inclusive Business of the Year Award. And it's very, very pleased to be able to announce that the winner for this year was Dave's No Frills, and come on up. And so this is really special to me to be able to present this to Dave on behalf of the sponsor, the Dawson Creek Society for Community Living, and I think all of us who are patrons at No Frills and wander around, we see what a great job you've done in providing those opportunities in our community for so many. And we want to thank you for that and present you proudly with the Inclusive Workplace of the Year Award. Thank you. So to everybody, all the nominees, all the winners, everybody who participated, we want to say thank you on behalf of the City of Dawson Creek, our residents, our business community. It's so special for us to be able to do this today, and we appreciate you coming in and allowing us to do this in person. And we want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and all the best in 2022, and keep up all the great work, everybody. Thank you.
It's easy to get back in. Old Charlie's all elbows. You don't want to stay and watch the meeting?
Nobody ever sticks around.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Take care.
Brenda, I do lots of weird stuff on my computer. So amazing help. I just restarted. You said you couldn't load voting things. Right, no.
So we have our next item, we have a delegation coming in at 11 o'clock, and so we'll move on from there. We have no late items. New councillor business. Councillor Dober?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to make a notice of a motion. I just wanted to review the conference travel policy at the next council meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything further? Any other council? And so we'll, do we vote on that now? No? Just when it comes forward? Yeah. Thanks, Councillor. Anything further, Darcy?
No, that was it.
Okay. Any other new councillor business for anyone? Thank you. Our next item then is, item 5 is the adoption of the minutes, regular meeting of City Council for December 6, 2021 for adoption. Move. Oh, so we're voting? Yeah. Move Councillor Kemp, second Councillor Earl. Voting. And now we're using a new system now for voting, and so that will be live on our screen. And voting is concluded. And so it's all those in favor is carried. Thank you. Any business arising out of those minutes for anyone? Item 7, we have correspondence, 7.1. We have a letter from Lorraine McKetty, Mayor of the Village of Pouce-Coupe, regarding the Pouce-Coupe Canada Day celebration. Councillor Parslow, go ahead.
I move that we...
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say we move it for receive for information.
Thank you. Second? Councillor Earl. Voting's open. I guess that would be me too.
It says locked on mine.
We'll take that as, it might have been because the microphone, I didn't close it off. It might have been, so I just realized that. So, oh, it's carried. Thank you. We'll go to item 7.2. Monday. We have an email from Joanne Vander Hayden, president of the FCM, regarding the 2022 FCM membership renewal. Councillor Wilbur?
I would move that we renew our membership for FCM. I believe balance is $3,176.81.
Thank you. Second? Councillor Parslow. All those in favor of voting? I think you got to go again, Shaylee. No? Thank you. It's carried. 7.3, we have an email from Aaron Ryan. What's going on with this? Because I'm not shutting it off. Sorry?
When the vote ends, you just have to put your mic back on.
Okay. So 7.3, we have an email from Aaron Ryan, Specialist Research Communications at the BCSPCA. Councillor Parslow.
Well, before I can make a motion, I'm not sure what our current practices are. Do we use rodenticides? No. So I would move that we receive this for information.
Yes, just to clarify, the city does not use that.
Okay. Thank you. So receive for information. Second, Councillor Kemp. All those in favor?
Vote. Oops.
You're saying this.
That's the Zoom.
It's carried. Thank you. That motion is carried. Thank you. Item 8, reports. 8.1, we have report 21166 from the Development Services Manager regarding a temporary use permit for Preventative Event Center. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation that report number 21-166 from the Development Services Manager, RE Temporary Use Permit, TUP 21-03, Preventative Event Center, 300 Highway 2, be received. Further, that temporary use permit, TUP 21-03, be approved to allow for the use of 2 metal storage containers at 300 Highway 2 for a period of 3 years.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Kemp. Any discussion? Councillor Wilbur? Councillor Dober, sorry, first.
Thank you, Worship. Just a couple of questions regarding, I tried to get information on it. Is it, they're only planning to do it for 3 years, or is this just like a never-ending temporary plan that's every 3 years?
Kevin?
So yeah, through your worship, right now, obviously it's for 3-year term. I think honestly that, they do struggle for some storage there, and I think we'll have to revisit it in 3 years and see if it's still needed, that maybe there's a permanent solution that we can do. Obviously, from an economic standpoint, this is the cheapest, easiest storage that you can get. So I think that's why they're looking at it right now.
And just one other question. Realize this is just a recommendation for a permit, but are these storage units or sea cans, are like they already purchased, or is this going to be another expense to the city to purchase these, or are they already?
Through your worship, I don't know if they have them already in their possession or not. I'm sorry, I don't have.
Chante?
Through your worship, they have them already.
Okay.
We're just have to do a little bit of cleanup to make sure that we have the correct permits.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Wilbur?
Thank you. Councillor Dolber already asked one of my questions, so that's covered. I'm a little perplexed because I know that within the event center, we never did put in the batting cage, we never did put in the racquetball courts. Can all of this stuff not be stored in that area? Like, what are we storing right now in the areas that weren't finished?
Chante?
Through your worship, they have in that storage area that's there right now, the only area that would be open would be where the racquetball club, racket courts are, and that's down below. There's no staircase in there as well. The rest of the stuff in that storage is tables and chairs. for there, and then they also store some of the stuff from community services when we lost O'Brien, so they also store some of our things like the bouncy castles and things like that, so they do need that extra cold storage to be able to move some of their equipment, some of their things away.
And I have one more.
Yep, go ahead.
And my second question is there any plans in the future to, within 3 years, to have storage that would not mean having these sea cans out there? Because no matter what anyone tells me, they're not pretty. They're useful, but they're not pretty.
Through your worship, right at this period of time, the community services is gonna have to get rid of some of our equipment to determine what we're doing for space and that, but we'll have a conversation with Dustin and review some of the stuff with what they have. The hope for that unfinished area was one day maybe to move community services into that area and that we would be a centralized service, but that right now is not the option with the finances and things with that, but we can look into something further.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to follow up on Councillor Dover's point, we do, and I don't know if it's formal policy or it maybe needs to be, we do have a limited number of times people can apply for temporary use permits, do we not? As far as usually at 2 or 3, we then push them to find a permanent solution. Is that not the case?
Kevin?
Yeah, through your worship, there's a limited time frame that you can apply for a TUP, but you can apply for it multiple times. But yes, you're correct, is if individuals are looking to do that, then you do need to find a permanent solution. The TUP is truly meant to be temporary, so I think that's the opportunity we have here, is within 3 years, we need to find a more permanent solution.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Ready for the question? All in favor? And thank you, and that motion is carried. Item 8.2, we have report number 21166 from the, 21167 from the Development Services Manager regarding development variance permit for the Memorial Arena and the curling rink fence. Councillor Kemp?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation that report number 21-167 from the Development Services Manager regarding development variant permit 21-02 Memorial Arena and curling rink fence be received. Further, that development variance permit 21-02 Memorial Arena and curling rink fence be approved to vary zoning bylaw number 4450/2020, section 5.12.5B by increasing the maximum fence height between the front building line and the rear parcel line from 1.8 meters to 3.66 meters at 1107 106th Avenue.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Dober. Discussion? Councillor Dober?
Thank you, Worship. I just had something I wanted to bring up. It was probably about a year ago. I talked to a couple of teachers at Central, and they were having issues with people going on the sea cans by the curling rink, and I brought it up about the fencing being done. So I'm just wondering that at this time, while they're looking at this, if they can potentially look at addressing that too, because there was some concern from the school that the kids from Central were going over there and doing what kids do, but they were climbing up there and they were fearful that somebody was going to get injured. So there was some talk then. They recommended like putting a fence up, but I brought it up. I didn't know this was going through, but I think now would be if we're looking at doing that now, that we should consider, because it's a very small area and probably not that much more of a cost to, well, we got somebody there putting fence in.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Blair, did you want to speak to it, or Shantae?
I can touch briefly on it. So this is a different than a chain link fence. This is the large one. As you'll note, between the Memorial and the Kin Arena, we have the large steel gated on both ends. It's to keep activity between the arenas out of there, only for exit purposes. So I believe, Councillor Dober, you're looking at a chain link fence option, but I believe we've moved those to the back now.
Yeah, I haven't heard any more about it, so I wasn't sure, and I didn't drive by there. So.
Okay,
yeah,
but I haven't heard, unless, Shantae, you have anything to add. We can look at that if we so wish, but we'd have to add it into our capital expenditures and put it as a project.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Shante?
And through your worship, that's correct. We haven't moved them, but we are looking at moving them into the back, but we just need to make sure that there's ground sturdy, and once we get all this work completed through capital, then we'll determine where we're gonna put them.
Okay.
But the idea is to move them so that people can't jump on top of them to the back of the building.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, council? You ready for the question? All in favor? I'll push the voting. And that motion is carried. Thank you. 8.3, we have report number 21178 from the Development Services Manager regarding development variance permit 2103 for 917 91A Avenue. Sorry, I gotta go. Councillor Kempf.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to move the recommendation that report number 21-178 from the Development Services Manager regarding development variance permit 21-3, 917 91A Avenue driveway width be received for the development variance permit 21-03, 917 91A Avenue driveway width be approved to vary subdivision and development servicing bylaw number 4353 2017 table E6 by increasing the maximum allowance driveway width from 8.64 meters to 12.5 meters.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the motion? For a second, Councillor Parslow, second. Discussion? Councillor Wilbur?
Sure, let me throw the wrench in. When the original development permit was applied for, did they indicate they were going to put in a wider driveway? And I'm asking because, as everyone knows, it's a flea in my bonnet when people come afterwards begging for forgiveness when they couldn't have done it ahead of time. And every time we allow these, I cringe because I think we're just creating our own havoc. Anyways.
Kevin?
So through your worship, single-family dwelling wouldn't have required a development permit, but it would have required a building permit. And my understanding is that this was done without us being aware of it. It wasn't part of the plans. So this is an after-the-fact issue where we're just trying to, and the owners are trying to bring it into compliance.
Thank you. Further discussion? You ready for the question, Council? All those in favor? Just voting, yep. And completed. Do it again. Sorry. Didn't take. Had to do it again. It didn't take for some reason. Thank you. And that motion is carried. Thank you. 8.4, we have report number 21174 from the General Manager of Development Services regarding the Nawakan Bergeron Youth and Cultural Center water use. Blair, do you just want to speak to this a little bit before for council?
So, Your Worship, thank you. Each year, just as winter arrives, we have a number of shallow services within the community. And at those locations, we have bleeder valves on the water lines. So each fall, we go in before freeze up and we turn the bleeder valves on, which then sees a trickle of water going down the drain, and that allows for the pipes not to freeze up. What happened is at the Bergeron, Nawakan Bergeron, they have captured that water. This goes before the meter, so it is not metered to the individual. They then captured the water and have shared it with the elders of Kelly Lake. So when we became aware of it, it was reported to us. We then contacted Nawakan to say, could you please send us a letter so that we could, at council's wish, either determine that it is acceptable or it isn't. And following that, if it is, for instance, we would put a letter together to exempt the city from any liability. which is a real issue anytime a municipality takes something on, or if the decision was to not allow that. So that is, in a nutshell, what is happening here.
Thank you. So, motion, Councillor Dober?
Make a motion that report number 21-174 from the General Manager of Development Services reason the Nowkin Bergeron Youth and Culture Center water use be received. Further, that council directs staff to develop a memorandum of understanding between the city and the Nowkin Bergeron Youth and Culture Center to allow the continued use of water from the bleeder valve at 10200 17th Street, and further that the staff be authorized to sign this agreement.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Kemp, discussion. Just Councillor Dober, go ahead.
Just one question. So, like, when it's turned on to like trickle, are they opening it up more, like, or is it just the water we would be wasting anyways? They're just taking that. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Javetkov.
So, the shallow service, is that the city's service, or is that the landowner's service?
Kevin, go ahead, sorry.
So through your worship, it could be a combination of both. Typically, it is our service because it's out in the street and that's where there's more frost. And so we've determined over time that there's certain number of services that have the potential of freezing if we don't have this continuous stream of water. And we found that this is probably the less disruptive means of keeping it from freezing rather than, maybe excavating them and reinstalling them at a deeper depth.
So how is it determined? Was there past frozen pipes, or is it just a measurement that you go by? Or
so usually it stems from a problem where it's maybe had a chronic problem in the past where it's froze, the service is froze. So we have a list of those properties, and I want to say there's I think there's 80 or 90 within the community that we have this, where those services are susceptible. So we go in the fall, and there's a little 1/4-inch water line that comes off the service before the meter, and we have a little valve, and then it just goes to a nearby drain, and essentially just wastes the water, which is unfortunate, but it's keeps it from freezing.
Thank you. Anything further for council? Any question? All those in favor? Opposed? And that motion is carried. Thank you. Report number 21-175 from the General Manager of Development Services regarding a request for a pedestrian activated crosswalk signal at 98th Avenue. Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation, the report number 21-175 from the General Manager of Development Services regarding a request for pedestrian activated crosswalk signal at 8th Street and 98th Avenue be received. For the council direct staff to complete traffic counts at both 8th Street and 98th Avenue and the crosswalk at the bus stop just north of 96th Avenue on 8th Street. Further, that should there be more pedestrians utilizing the crosswalk at 8th Street and 98th Avenue, that the signal from the crosswalk at the bus stop north of 96th Avenue on 8th Street be relocated to 8th Street and 98th Avenue crosswalk. Further, that should it be determined that the bus stop crosswalk north of 96th Avenue on 8th Street has more pedestrian traffic than 8th Street and 98th Avenue crosswalk, council directs staff to make no changes or additions and deny the request from Ms. Palatek.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Earl, discussion? I do want to speak to it. I travel at obviously 8th Street every day, 2 or 3 times at least, and I'm not sure if it's been the last year or 2, but it seems like the area around 97A, 98, 99th in there is getting a lot more traffic, and I'm not sure it's not as a result of increased attendance at the Mountain Christian School, because it seems like we're seeing more kids and more people turning certainly left off of 8th Street as they're coming down the hill as well as coming up. And so I really think this is a good option for us to look at those 2 intersections and do some traffic analysis at 96th as well as 98th and determine if there's one that's busier than the other, and we then can understand the data and understand the need for pedestrian safety at those intersections. So I'm in favor, certainly, of the motion. And I'll move to Councillor Wilbur.
Thank you, Your Worship. No, I agree with doing some research on this, definitely. I do find, though, that the crosswalk at 98th and 8th is deadly in the winter. I've watched people fall twice now because it's just on right at the before the crest of the hill. So I have concern there. I think our bigger issue on 8th is that the sidewalk's only on one side of the street. And so we have people trying to walk up or down on the opposite side. So I'd be interested to see what the outcome is. I do know from having worked many, many years across from the crosswalk on 96, it's busy. So kids are coming from Frank Ross. So we have 2 schools in a short distance. So it'd be interesting to see what the results is, but I think we have to be mindful that 8th can be deadly in the winter, and that is a very deadly crosswalk right at 98th, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's to that whole issue of pedestrian safety, right? Councillor Parslow?
Well, I appreciate the study, but I would like to see the results of the study before staff does anything. So I'm not in support of the motion as presented.
Thank you. Councillor Javetkov?
So, what are those activated crosswalk signals worth?
Okay.
So through your worship, in the report there I did note that we got a quote from our electrical contractor to supply and install is about $16,000 to put those in.
So what is the cost of doing a study on 2 crosswalks?
So we'll just do that internally. I'll have my engineering staff go out at a couple different periods during the day, you know, like morning during school, drop off, pick up, and in the afternoon, and just do some counts. And it'll be just staff time.
To me, I guess, you know, for $16,000 to make a crosswalk safe, you know, whether it's 100 people crossing there or 1,000, for $16,000, we spend a lot of money on things that aren't as much of a priority as that. So I would be in favor of putting in a crosswalk signal to make it safe. I mean, it's you know, to measure one against the other for $16,000, it's not a very big cost. I would prefer just to put one in, and I'll try an amendment to the motion that we just install a crossing there.
Do I have so we got an amendment to the motion, and I can that we just simply proceed with the installation without doing the analysis. And Brenda, I'm looking to my corporate officer. Does that change the motion? And if
yes, through your worship, I would just have to reread the motion to see how it could be amended without changing the original intent.
so, if we can, Councillor Javetkov, we'll just hold that, and I'll just get Councillor Parslow to speak to it, and then we'll come back and revisit it for your amendment. Councillor Parslow, go ahead.
Well, I guess in an indirect way, Councillor Javetkov is getting to the point that why I wanted to see the data. I mean, and I hope the data is going to be done in a comprehensive way, not a one-shot look. I mean, you can go out there in 30 below weather and you'll get one set of data, and 10 above weather and you'll get another set of data. So I think it will take more time than you think for the data to have any reliability. Yeah, I was thinking that what if there's not much difference, right? And therefore we might need a second crosswalk. But without information, how can you make a decision?
Thank you. Brenda?
Yes, through your worship. So the original intent was to have the traffic counts first and then have staff assess. And then it's just not totally clear if staff was to just proceed or come back to council.
Yeah, I would have, my assumption was, and that's a bad word to use, is you do the analysis, bring it back to council and say, here's the information we have, and what do you guys want to do with it? But that isn't, I agree that isn't clear. I'm going to go to Councillor Dover.
Thank you, Worship. I agree. I think there needs to be one put in, but it's almost like we do need to do a little bit of research because, especially if we put it too low down on the hill, like coming off that traffic circle, it's always so congested. And if we're, putting signals in there, it might back it right up. So I would think that it goes for, I don't know. My opinion, 2 cents anyway.
Thank you. Councillor Parslow.
Well, you see, I read the motion slightly different than you, that staff would just proceed with it based upon the data. And therefore it's not adding to the number of crosswords, it's possibly relocating them there. So without data, I don't see how we can give staff any direction on this. So I think that the motion should end at the, the first sentence. And, the first semicolon. We're north of 96th Avenue and 8th Street. And then, if the corporate officer's opinion is going to be sustained, I would make an amendment.
Well, I just want to go back to Councillor Javetkov because he did raise that at the first. So, Councillor Javetkov, we're saying that's changes the intent of the motion by saying that we're going to add that in, and I think if that's the will of council, we defeat this motion that's in front of us, and then move forward with a new motion. Councillor Wilbur.
Thank you. I like Councillor Javetkov's idea, but we do currently have a crosswalk right at the SO, just past the mile zero post with lights.
Traffic circle.
Or traffic circle, sorry, mile zero post, traffic circle. And then we have a painted crosswalk at 98th with no lights. And then we have a crosswalk just past 96 at the bus stop with lights. We have those crosswalks there because that's where pedestrians are crossing. So to Councillor Javetkov's point, I'd be happy to second your motion if we get that far. Let's find the money and just do it. It's dark in the winter, it's a hill, kids are crossing, so if we really are gonna worry about public safety, the crosswalk exists. What isn't there is the solar panel crossing lights.
Correct.
Thank you.
So, go ahead, Brenda.
So through your worship, that would be a new motion,
Yeah,
so I
for
would
sure.
recommend that the first one be
I agree, and I think
defeated.
that's the direction council. Now, either we accept and or move forward with a complete direction on the expenditure. Councillor Javetkov?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. I mean, like I say, for the cost of it to make a crosswalk safe, and obviously there's a concern there because it's been presented to us, and with your experience, the increased foot traffic across there, these studies, I guess they're okay, and when we submit a request to Ministry of Highways, they do their studies, and we don't have any control of that. And a lot of times the study proves that, well, in their mind, that it's safe enough as it is. For $16,000, it's not a huge amount of money to just do it and make it safe. So I'll vote against the motion. Hopefully we'll defeat it, and I would be willing to make a motion to install a instrument there.
Thank you. So I think we've had discussion, and I am going to call the question on the motion at this time. And so all those in favor? And those opposed? And the motion is, it died again on us.
No, I moved it. It was defeated.
It was defeated? Okay, thank you. And so Councillor Javetkov, you wanted to make a motion?
So I'll make a motion that we proceed to install a crossing signal there on that crosswalk.
at 98th Avenue, and administration will bring back our direction on costs and funding. Thank you. Second, so, sorry, we're going to proceed with the installation, Blair, at 98th Avenue with a signalized solar like we have at 98th, and you guys will bring that back and say, here's how much it's going to cost, and or have you got that?
16.
So it's, okay, so we'll allocate the budget of 16. Okay, thank you. Second? Councillor Wilbur, any further discussion? Councillor Parslow? Or, sorry, I got Councillor Dober first.
Thank you, Worship. Just one question, I guess, to either Kevin or Blair. Like, have you, like, I know you said you wanted to study it a little bit, but like, we're just telling you to put it here. Is this what you feel is right? Or do you still feel like you guys should review it? Like, you're the professionals, we're not.
Yeah, no. This side of the room. Yeah.
Through you, Your Worship.
Blair, go ahead.
No, we take our direction from yourselves on the council side. We will execute any decision that is legal on behalf of yourselves. The one thing I will point out, safety is obviously a primary concern, as has been talked about here. There are 56 other crosswalks in Dawson Creek that may meet this requirement. So 56 times 16,000 is how I would look at this. Maybe not all at one time, but we do have to be aware of that, I think. Sure. And just don't want that to be lost.
I guess my thoughts more, and my comments more is like, yes, I get we're council and whatever, but you guys are the professionals that deal with that stuff. I'm not a professional in crosswalk, so we're mandating or telling you that one has to be installed there, but I'm asking if that's truly your opinion that you think it should be there, or it should be up one street or down, or because really, I mean, that's what the city's employees are paid for.
Kevin?
So through your worship, I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with putting one there. That was not the issue. I was taking the lens that understanding you have limited resources. We have a number of crosswalks in the community. We likely can't do it at every crosswalk. You know, how do we look at these and evaluate against each other of whether it's a priority or not? That was the lens I took. But from your perspective, if you guys want to do it, there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing it.
I guess with mine is we're like, you know, snapping, obviously people's safety is number one, and it always is. Mine is doing what's right for the city and the safety of our staff, but we're just like, you know, spending $16,000 like that with not really knowing, like, you know, is there enough? I get there is a signal crosswalk right after the traffic circle. Now we're gonna put one block after that?
No,
or is it
5 blocks after?
5 blocks after?
Yeah.
So at the top?
Yeah.
Okay.
Halfway up the hill, basically.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Parslow.
Well, I guess my sentiments are somewhat like Darcy, Councillor Dober's. I believe in data-driven decisions, and this one obviously begs for data. I mean, how are we going to say no when we did another request from some other location? We have no data to base this on, so safety is important, but I'm going to vote against it because this is not a decision that's been made on data.
Thank you. Councillor Parslow, or sorry, Councillor Javecka.
Yeah, so, I mean, the study that Kevin explained to me, or to us a while ago, is that we'll send some city staff out once in a while and we'll see, you know, how many people are crossing and that type of thing. I don't think that's data that I would hang my hat on. We have some anecdotal information that was expressed here by the mayor. We've got an expression of concern from the public. To me, that is equivalent, what you call data, as sending out a few city staff to monitor the traffic for, you know, whatever it is, an hour or 2 hours, or in the morning or at night or during the winter or during 35 below or whatever. It's a safety issue. There's been an expression that there's increased foot traffic there possibly because of the school up there. And $16,000 is not a huge amount of money. And no, I don't expect that we're going to proceed with a crossing on every crosswalk in the city. There is some, I guess you could say, common sense that goes along with it, and possibly future studies and anecdotal information. So in this case, I think it's worthwhile. The hill is not really a safe place. The crosswalk is, or the sidewalk is on the opposite side of 8th Street. 8th Street is busy. What we're trying to do is protect the pedestrians from the vehicle traffic. To me, it's pretty clear. So obviously, I support it.
Thank you. Councillor Wilbur.
I just want to reiterate that there is actually already a crosswalk there. We're just adding lights. So other crosswalks in the community are at intersections. Downtown, we expanded the sidewalks to extend out so there was a shorter distance to cross the street. So this isn't something new. We're taking it one piece at a time, or pun, we're crossing the crosswalk when we get there. So the crosswalk already exists. We're just adding lights, just for my colleagues that are concerned about studies. We already have a crosswalk there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, my final comment would be, and I do support it. We have the signalized crossing at 92nd Avenue in front of Equal Frank Ross. We have it on 108th Avenue for the kids going to Canalta. And this one here is just a change in the dynamics to me of the kids going to school up at Mountain Christian. And 8th Street is such a busy street, and it's, as has been identified, you're on the hill. It just carries additional risk to me, and I think it's one that safety is one that we should address. So I'm going to call for the question, and voting is now open. And got everybody? Thank you. And the motion is carried in favor. Opposed would be Councillor Dober and Parzo, and those will be recorded. Thank you, everybody. Good discussion. Item 9 is bylaws. We have no items for bylaws. Mayor's business, I've got a few updates I want to bring forward. I had a conversation with Northern Health. They're now really in earnest looking at development of strategies around child care and resources, so I provided them with some information around housing and different things like that, so that as they develop their strategy for how they move into this new world of child care resources, for a tool to help and assist with recruitment and retention of staffing. It was really, really beneficial, and hopefully that we see some move there. Attended the Super 8 motel and hotel in Sunil, made a donation of $2,500 to the Salvation Army, and it was really such a giving individual on behalf of Super 8. We appreciate that from Sunil. We had a powwow planning session a couple of weeks ago, and Councillor Gary Oker from the Doig River First Nations and Curtis Dickey from the cultural planning area out of the Fort Nelson First Nations. Connie Grey Eyes was supposed to attend from Fort St. John and Treaty 8, but wasn't able to attend. But we toured the event center and spent about 3 or 4 hours talking about an event, and we're in that initial stages. And I'm really excited about some of the ideas and concepts that could be pursued and explored in trying to put this event on. And it's really about cultural awareness, training, opportunities around the powwow and tea dance and hand games tournament, et cetera, et cetera. They are very, very excited about the opportunity of hosting such an event and holding such an event in Ovintiv Event Center. And so it was really, really good. I was down to Calgary and spent a day and a half down there meeting up with a number of industry folks, Solaris, Tourmaline Diamond Gas, the upstream development, CNRL, and had a conversation with Chris from Westjet. I wasn't able to meet with him. He had a conflict that occurred at the last minute. I had a meeting with Diamond Gas, and it was really informative to me in terms of what they're talking about in terms of the upstream. Obviously, the partnership with Ovintiv and around our area, the Cutbank Ridge partnership, but you know, these, two or three key points I took away from meeting with them. They're planning 30, 40 years. They're a big partner in terms of Coastal GasLink and LNG Canada. So they got really significant and positive views of their assets in and around Dawson Creek. The new phenomenon for them in terms of what they're looking at out of the production of gas is hydrogen and ammonia. And it was crazy to me to hear that, but you can strip the ammonia out of the gas, and one of the opportunities that's created by that is if they can utilize ammonia for moving some of these facilities that are burning coal onto ammonia. Ammonia produces no GHGs, no greenhouse gas emissions are produced as a result of the use of ammonia, and so they see it as there's a real positive opportunity there. Anyway, again, it was really worthwhile, and I just got a call, and the VP of Upstream Development will be here on January 4th, and I'll be meeting with him again. And then finally, I did Notre Dame school. I had a visit with the kids, and as annually at this time of the year, and handed out candy canes to all of the kids at Notre Dame, and really like and appreciate the opportunity to get to the kids in our community. And so that was it for updates. Item 10.2, we had the Dawson Creek Daily News People's Choice Awards for 2021, and these are the annual awards produced and awarded. And this year's recipients were Best Civic Leader, Mayor Dale Bumstead, Best City Councilor, Councilor Darcy Dobert. You guys can talk to him about that. Best RCMP Officer, Sergeant Damon Werrell. Best City Employee, Arliss McKechnie. Best Firefighter, Lynette Fritshaw. Best Wheelchair Accessible Facility, Dawson Creek Public Library. And Best Biking is the Rotary Walking Trail in Dawson Creek. And those are amenities and people in our community. And thank you to everybody who took the time to vote and participate. Item 10.3, we have a memo from myself in regards to the Powwow Tea Dance Hand Games Tournament seed funding, and we brought it forward and got the motion at our last meeting that we would move that funding over to the Dawson Creek Tourism, that we received $10,000 from the province for that seed money to help facilitate in the planning. And but I just needed to do one addition to that motion that we carried, and that's that the resolution approving the concept and that the council also approves the 10,000 seed funding transfer that was received to Spectre Venue Management to assist in the initial planning of the event. Councillor Parslow, sorry.
I would like to move the motion.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Dober. Any discussion? Again, once we get this initial concept in place, we'll bring it back to council, and then just begin. Then the organizing committee will then go about the funding and all of that. I did reach out to the Minister of Indigenous Relations last week, and I'm hopeful you're going to try to get a meeting with him right after the new year to try and get provincial participation and find a federal, and then industry are very interested in it. So thank you for that. Any further discussion? Voting's now open. Thank you. And that motion is carried. Thank you. 10.4, we have our annual policy on our council remuneration, and I wanted to bring that forward. And this is memo outlining my recommendations for moving forward for the remuneration. So we've held council's increases over the last 2 years in 2020 and 2021. Policy had it outlined by the remuneration committee that was appointed in 2018 or 2019. And so now we're bringing it forward for council's direction for 2022. And again, it was my recommendation and thought, look, we've held for 2 years. The longer we do things that we hold, it just, in my opinion, just continues, then makes it harder to catch up. And why we put a policy in place was to allow for that effective planning of our remuneration. Councillor Parslow.
Well, exactly. I am not aware of any other, I'm not saying they're not, but I'm not aware of any other council that's done this. There may be one or two, but those that I know in other areas, they haven't done it. So we will be facing that challenge, so I support the proposal you put forward. So I'd like to move it.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wilbur. Any discussion? Always tough, right? You put it out and say, look, we deal with our own remuneration.
right on.
I think it's effective governance of what we do. Thank you. Councillor Dober.
Thank you, Worship. I was going to make a few comments. I mean, I've only been in council for just over a year and in COVID times, so I can only base like this information. I thought a lot about it versus how much time I've put into council, and I personally feel that didn't know at first I'd be compensated for this, but I feel that I'm fairly compensated at what it is. And looking through all this, the only position that in my mind, that I would personally look at reviewing would be the mayor one, because it's a lot more hours, a lot more time. But I'll be opposed to this just because I don't know prior to COVID or post-COVID if there's a lot more commitment from councillors. But what my time commitment is now is I feel that this compensation is fair. So I'm going to be opposed to it. So.
Thank you. Councillor Javekov.
So we originally approved the rates that are proposed here for 2022, and we deferred them, I guess, for 2 years. So, I mean, how long do you defer them until it was a wasted effort having the committee sit and determine it? So I'm in favor of the proposal.
Thank you. Councillor Earl.
Yeah, I'll to Councillor Javetkov's point, I would reinforce that to say that this was ultimately this remuneration policy was one that was struck upon by a committee of volunteers that was impaneled by the city of Dawson Creek. And the reason behind that was so that we were keeping our grubby politician hands off this off this issue. So, and I think I also feel I'm fairly compensated, but I do believe the work of that committee should be honored. Not only that, but to continue deferring it for 2 years or past 2 years, is you run the risk of doing the exact thing you were trying to avoid in the first place, which is politicizing this. So I'm fine with the mayor's recommendation. I'm glad we're able to have this conversation in the public eye, and so I'll vote in support of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilbur, did you want to speak?
Thank you. Obviously, I'm in favor. I seconded the motion. But I just wanted to let Councillor Dober know, too, that prior to COVID, those members of council or anyone wishing to become part of council that may have been working used up their holiday time at work to participate in council events, took time away. So it didn't always balance out. And I know that some of our other colleagues that are here that also have children, and having to use vacation time even to attend in-city events is a huge deal. So that was why we struck the committee and asked them to make the decision and take it out of our nice hands. I don't know about Councillor Earl's, but mine are pretty lovely. I just got my nails done. Anyways, so I just wanted to say it is different during COVID. And to Councillor Parslow's point, other communities didn't do what we did, but we did, and I think we've done our due part, and I do think we have to respect the decision of those we asked to make it on our behalf, so it didn't have to keep coming to the council table, because it is an uncomfortable situation to be in. Thank you.
Further discussion? Ready for the question? All in favor? Voting's open. Unopposed, and we are. Got everybody. Thank you. And that's carried with Councillor Dober opposed. Thank you. And we'll record that, Councillor. We'll hold item 10.5 because they're coming as a delegation at 11 o'clock, the paramedics. And sorry, Councillor Parsley, you wanted to speak?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just one is the record here under 10.2, I think it needs to be corrected under Best RCMP Officer, Staff Sergeant Damon Well, not Sergeant.
Oh, thank you. We'll
That's
correct
important in
Yeah.
the hierarchy of RCMP,
We don't,
which I'm very familiar
we don't,
with.
we don't want him angry at us. We'll call him His Excellency.
Yeah.
Thank you, good point.
And I guess I have a few comments. Maybe they're. I'm going to make them when Blair makes his presentation. I was tempted to, because I am very concerned about something that's got nothing to do with our local politics and that, but it's operational perhaps. But I think we have a role as politicians in this, so there's no issues locally. I just want to talk about something that's
Blair's ready.
on my heart, if you like. Okay?
Thank you. Blair, operational, Chief Administrative Officer's operational update.
Your
Anything?
Worship, maybe I'll just spend a few minutes talking about the city over the past year. I want to say thank you to all the staff of the city for the work they've done, to yourselves and council. It's not an easy time. You know, we're in this COVID times and things are done differently, but we have an amazing group of people from the senior staff right down to our workers on the ground. I think they've done a good job. We try and enhance what we do each and every year. And for that, I am very grateful. It goes without question, I've been involved since 1993 with our city and the province. It's not often that the general public seems to want to thank the elected officials or government workers. The traditional thought pattern out there that I've experienced is, oh, they're all overpaid and underworked, which is absolutely untrue. And I want to make that very clear. I think they do a marvelous job for us. I think they provide a wonderful group of services that are delivered on all of our behalf, and for that I'm grateful, and I want to take the opportunity to say thank you for the work they do. And to Mayor and Council, working through these times, in the COVID times we're in, it is a different time in elected office right now. And I want to say on behalf of myself and our team, thank you for the work you do for the city of Dawson Creek. Other than that, I do not have a lot. It is the Christmas season. It is fast approaching. People be safe out there. Pay attention. There are a lot of people out and about these days. Only, I think, one family in 10, of course, but that would be it. But have a wonderful Christmas, and thank you for the opportunity to be here and serve the city of Dawson Creek.
Thank you, Blair. Appreciate that. Councillor Parslow, you wanted to...
Yes, well, Blair's talking about appreciation for staff, which I obviously support. I think we have a great staff. But that's not what I want to talk about. It's about safety. And I don't know what you people have spent the weekend at, but I've been reading a lot of scientific literature. And I think operationally, we're going to be really impacted by Omicron in ways that we have not really comprehended. And I'm just asking that our great administrative staff stay on top of that, because everything I'm reading makes me very scared. And we've all lost friends, perhaps. I've lost several through COVID. Prominent people in our community and people I loved. And we haven't seen anything yet if what I'm reading from accredited scientists, leaders of the task force and so on, you know, data that if you, in a gathering of 70 and one person has Omicron, within 2 hours 50 will be infected by it. 1 out of 3 Canadians will get Omicron. I mean, I'm just giving you little snaps. So operationally, I think we need to just think that it's not going to, I mean, we said, you know, we live in unusual times, but I don't think we've seen it as bad as it's going to be coming. So I just wanted to plant the seed that operationally we may need to really see what we can do to protect our workers and commit to protect our community. I know we take direction from Northern Health, but I'm just wanting to plant a seed that what I'm reading is makes me even more apprehensive. Where prominent doctors have cancelled their travel, we should not be. People, I think, have too much complacency about what's going on, and it's going to impact us all. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a worrisome time, very worrisome, and it's worrisome. It's frustrating. It's just on and on and on. Who would have ever believed we'd be 2 years into this and still into it? And no, now it just escalating again. So, thank you, Blair.
Your Worship, thank you. And on that, we will certainly monitor the situation. I think everybody is paying attention to it. We will, and we have said from the beginning, we will honor the provincial health orders. We will live to those. Should Mayor and Council wish to take the next step, we will act on the direction given to us. But at this point, the City of Dawson Creek is acting under the, I guess, charge of both the provincial health order and the northern health order. We would continue to do that unless directed differently at this time.
Thank you. Diary permissive tax exemption policy is on for review in 2022, and so I don't think there's anything we need to do anything further there. Consent calendar, is there anything anybody would like to lift from the consent? Have a motion to accept the consent calendar. Councillor Wilbur, second. Councillor Kemp. All those in favor? And voting's on. Got everybody. And not everybody yet. No, we have everybody. Thank you. That's carried. And strategic priorities, nothing new, Blair?
Nothing at this time, Your Worship.
Media question, anything? Sorry, is Damon here? If he is, let's move to our committee of the whole, and we'll get our report from our staff sergeant. Good morning, Damon. Welcome. Have a chair. The floor is yours. Morning, Brian.
Morning.
Good to see you. I need the speaker. You can just, there you go. Good morning, Damon. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good to have you guys here this morning.
Thank you, Your Worship, and Council. Thank you for having me. So I'm here to provide you the policing report for the month of November. I'll start with resourcing. We do still have 2 hard vacancies, and presently we have 6 temporary soft vacancies, so it's up a little bit from last month. One of those soft vacancies actually came about in November, was a result of an officer slipping and falling on the ice while attending a motor vehicle collision, during which she broke her pelvis. So she is recovering, and hopefully she'll be back soon. A selection has been made for one of our 2 vacant corporal positions. That's our new Corporal Casey Charles. He'll be coming here from Creston. So he's presently working on selling his house, and he'll be up here in the new year. Our incoming recruit, Constable Ryan Jevons, graduates depot 1 week from today, actually, so next Monday, and he'll be starting with us here on January 7th. So, and then the next recruit after that is scheduled to arrive first week of February. So resourcing for November and December is going to be a little bit sticky, but there are bodies coming here and members coming here soon, so just in the next couple weeks. Crime trends so far this year, we've taken 8,224 calls for service. That's up, same as last month, 8% from last year when we had 7,590. Probably going to go over 9,000 calls for service this year. Of those, 79% were within the city, 21% were within the rural area. Again, that doesn't really change. When we look at this compared to last year, we're showing an increase of calls for service specifically within the city of 9% and an increase in the rural area of 7%. Most of our crime groups are indicating an upward trend throughout this year. Some of the larger ones include break and enter to residence. We're showing an increase of 38%. Break and enter to business, an increase of 39%. Sexual assault, an increase of 24%, many of those being historical. And I'll just note as well, drug possession, drug trafficking, we're showing a decrease of 49% in calls for service this year compared to last year. For our policing priorities, we have 5 of them that were identified this year. Impaired driving was the first one. We had no additional training provided in November. It was a busy month for impaired driving in November. We had 11 immediate roadside suspensions, 1 24-hour suspension, 2 criminal code impaired charges, so quite a busy month for impaired driving in November. Our second priority was substance abuse and drugs, and really when we identified that as a priority, it was more proactive than reactive. Proactively, we wanted to join and become part of the, at the time it was the Community Opiate Action Team. They've changed their name now to the Community Action Team. There were no meetings in November, so nothing to report in that area. Property was our third policing priority. As we do every month, a proactive media release was sent out on November 4th, reminding residents not to leave their vehicles running with keys in it. You may have seen the Twitter I sent out, I think it was this week or last week, I think it was this week. Just over a period of 2 days, we had 6 vehicles stolen. All of those had the keys left in them. Of those, 5 had been left running in the driveway. One actually had their vehicle running with the keys in it overnight, so all night outside of a hotel, because they thought they could do that here. So don't do that. We completed a grant application for a property crime initiative. Unfortunately, that was not successful. So we're looking at alternatives to that. Our fourth policing priority was community policing. Our detachment members participated in several school lockdown drills throughout November. We also provided a safety talk at the daycare. I've heard back from Treaty 8 regarding cultural awareness training material for our officers in our detachment. And unfortunately, they weren't able to identify someone to provide us in-house training or presentations. However, they did direct us to an online course. So I'm going to review that and for consideration for our officers here in the new year. And finally, for policing priorities, persons crimes. We participated in an ICAT meeting in November. Again, ICAT's one of our newer committees in the community. That's the Integrated Case Assessment Team. And we reviewed 2 new high-risk domestic violence cases and discussed those. So the ICAT reviews domestic violence matters and gets counseling and support services in place for the victim and or the suspect if they're willing to participate. The detachment members are continuing to work on sex assault consent presentation information and anticipate that they'll begin presentations in the schools in the new year. Thank you for allowing me to present to you today. That's all I have, pending any questions.
Thank you, Damon. Any questions from Council? Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship, and Merry Christmas to all you guys over at the detachment, Staff Sergeant. Just with kind of a general question, with the 8% overall increase in calls this year, I mean, and I'm asking for your insight as a longtime professional, is this something you would chalk up to the normal ebb and flow of crime trends in any given area? Because I know last year we were down, or is it, do you intuit a more specific contributor to this? Is there something, you know, my question is always, you know, you guys aren't the Avengers, you know, you can't be everywhere. So what other levers are available to us to pull to help address this situation, if it is something that can be addressed, or is it just kind of the normal ebb and flow of what we'd expect to see for crime?
So the numbers I'm reporting to you, I'm comparing to last year, 2020. And 2020 was somewhat of an anomaly with the COVID pandemic being fresh and the bars and everything being shut down and people really being restricted or limited to their households. It really decreased our overall calls for service in a positive way. So when I'm comparing this year's to last year, it looks like the calls are going up. But when I do a 3-year, 5-year comparison, not just last year, but 2019, 18, possibly 17, we're still showing a reduction in calls for service compared to 17, 18, and 19. So you're going to see that more, I think, in the next report that I give you for December, because it'll be a year-end report. During which I'm going to provide you the 3-year and 5-year comparisons, and I think that we're still going to show a decrease over the 3-year, 5-year trend versus not just last year.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Parslow.
David, I'm interested in the COVID contravention-related calls. 139 calls. Is that usually or largely for people being objectionable with frontline service staff in restaurants and things like that, or what's the typology of these calls?
So we actually got no COVID-related calls in November. So 139 is also what I reported to you in October, and that's calls year to date, right? So that would be as of I think April 1st is when we start our reporting. Right. And those calls really related to we had a couple of protests, so those were COVID-related calls.
Yeah,
we did have a couple of calls of face masks, persons refused to wear face masks in businesses, and then the businesses would call police. Yeah. I know we've had a couple of calls relating to individuals having to show the vaccine passport and refusing to do so. So there's been a couple instances in which police have been called to deal with that situation. And really that was it. So.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, Council? David, thank you. We just want to express our appreciation to you guys. I know that every year we core services is public safety, and we really appreciate obviously the efforts that the members have put into our community and you guys in terms of overseeing that and leading that whole aspect of public safety to our community. So we really want to express that to the members. If you can pass that on behalf of Mayor Council and our administration, that sincerely appreciate the work and effort that they've put in our community and for you guys as well. And we want to wish everybody all the best in the holiday season. Thank you.
I know I can speak for every member and clerical staff that they love doing their jobs over there. So we have a good morale and great staff, and they really enjoy working here in Dawson Creek and the support that they've got from council. So awesome. Happy holidays to you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Damon. Thank you, Brian. Merry Christmas. Do we have the chief here? And then if we can we'll take a break. Is Ryan here, or is Dustin here as well, I wonder? Good. So we'll take a break after Todd. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Sounds good. Good morning, everyone. Through your worship.
Chief phone in sick today?
Yeah, little break. Yeah,
good stuff
before Christmas. You bet. Yeah, so a few things to highlight. We've got our industrial washer, extractor, and dryer installed and in service now. We bought that earlier this year and took a little bit of work to get it installed. Had to pour a pad because it needs to be bolted down and some electrical work, but that's up and running. So it's nice to have that in-house. We can deal with all the contaminated gear without sending it out. That as well as a drying cabinet. So that's up and running. October 4th to 9th was Fire Prevention Week. Fire crews and the prevention officer visited 6 elementary schools and did some fire safety with classes K through grade 3. So it was nice to get back in the schools again for that. The chief and I attended Dawson Creek Regional Airport tabletop exercise, just a simulated mock accident, their aircraft accident. So that was good. We had the airport manager, BC Ambulance, our emergency planning coordinator, Chelsea Mwadashaw there. So it was good to kind of go over that with as a group. Dawson Creek firefighters gave $1,000 to help local families after some recent structure fires out of their charitable society. Mid-November, some of the off-duty firefighters put up Christmas lights for an older gentleman that was requested through the Better at Home program. That was a nice thing, went over well. And just to mention, tonight, actually, crews are gonna decorate a couple trucks and then take a few more out as well and do kind of a mini Christmas parade through town here. So, yeah.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Any questions for the chief? So thank you, Todd. We appreciate you coming in this morning, obviously, and we wish all the best in the Merry Christmas holiday season to all the staff over at our fire hall. Public safety is a biggie for us, obviously, and we want to extend a thank you and appreciation to everybody over there and wish everybody a safe and Merry Christmas and all the best.
Sounds good. Thank you, Your
Thank
Worship.
you.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Same to all of you.
Thank you. Can we, well, is Dustin, if Dustin's here, if he is, we'll carry on and then conclude with him, and or if he isn't, we'll take a break. Let's take a 7-minute break, and we'll be back at 10:32. So we'll call ourselves back to order, and we're on to item 16.3. We have report number, 16.3. We have Spectre Venue Management here, and Dustin and Steph are joining us. Good morning, welcome, Merry Christmas. The floor is yours.
Excellent. Good morning, Mayor and Council, and thank you for allowing us to come and do our quarterly update of the Preventative Center and Tourism Dawson Creek. So obviously, we continue to work through the ongoing changes of the provincial health orders and capacity restrictions, etc. But with that, there's still a number of highlights and work being done on both accounts. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Stephanie to give us a few updates.
Yeah, so obviously not a great time to be working in live events, but we're managing to reduce our number of dark days, which is great. I just completed the community use schedule for, I believe, January, February, March with Chelsea and Community Services. So we have a number of new events coming in the new year, particularly 2 seniors ones, which are great. So within all the programming, along with the yoga, the preschool programming, we're using pretty much every space in the Preventative Center, so the event floor, Co-op Mercer Hall, and the upper lobby, which is great to see. Walking track, we are staying open. Obviously, it's super cold out, so there's a place for people to go and walk, and we are mirroring still the pool hours, so open Monday to Wednesday, and then on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. During the pool shutdown in September, we kept the track closed. That allowed us to do some work up there. So we did a full patch and paint of the stairwell, the suites lobby, and then all around the track. And then we also, all the photos that are up there, we took some down, we readjusted. We hadn't added some new ones for quite some time, so there's some new stuff to look at up there. The event forecast, obviously we just got hit hard again last week, so we are continuing communication with event promoters basically on a weekly basis, looking at 2022, 2023, and what that looks like. And then just to supplement, we've been creating new in-house events. So we did the winter sign making classes with Kristen Harper. I believe there was 3 sessions of those, and most of them were sold out or close to sold out, which is great. And then we just partnered with the credit union for the sleigh photos. Jeremy and set that up with Judy, and so that was a great partnership as well for the credit union members and then also the public. So they were able to come in, get their photo taken, and then the money was donated to charity. We just completed 2 new revenue initiatives. So our food and beverage department created the Christmas festive dinner package. So those are closed now. Our chef is working on them. We sold 12 of them. And then the cookie decoration kits, those closed last week, and so we sold 25 of them. So within the Spectra network, the highest amount of turkey dinners that people sold was 5. So blew them out of the water with our 12, which was awesome. And then we're planning a job fair with our regional media partner, Moose FM, for January 12th. So registration is open for exhibitors now that want to promote their business and are looking for employees for the new year. And then obviously we have Johnny Reed on sale. Production was just confirmed for the Saturday night, so a few more seats were opened up for that one. So it's no longer sold out because we were able to find some more space. So those are selling well, as well as the what's it called? The comedy night. We have confirmed a series of those 3 through January, February, and March as well. So those will all be in Co-op Mercer Hall. We're continuing conversation with Northern Health about vaccine clinics. they are, obviously things are changing so rapidly, but their pandemic response team is still trying to figure out what they're doing for clinics, mass clinics. So we have Co-op Mercer Hall kind of dog-eared for them again with the stipulation of an event confirms, then the clinic will be closed for that day or whatever that looks like. And then through October, November, we booked a series of pop-up vaccine clinics in the upper lobby with them as well. So I think the clinic in the spring that we had really gave us a good relationship with them to reach out, and we were able to offer them space whenever they needed it, which was great.
Excellent. Thanks, Steph. Another kind of key thing that our staff has been doing over the past quarter is around asset management and preventive maintenance. So as you know, our operations team works across all 3 facilities of the South Peace Multiplex, making sure that all the engineering and mechanical aspects and equipment are up to date and taken care of. And that includes completing all capital work, which we work closely with Shanti and Melina's teams on that on a regular basis. As we go into the tourism side of things, you can again see that visitation numbers coming to the end of November are slightly up over 2020 numbers, but obviously still low compared to pre-pandemic numbers. Another kind of key initiative that Tourism Dawson Creek has undertaken over the past couple of months is a series of different meetings that Worship has kind of spearheaded in organizing a powwow and cultural event within Dawson Creek. So we've consulted with Doig First Nations and members of the Fort Nelson Indian Band, as well as the Spirit of the Peace powwow. So really, gathering people from across the region on organizing and really learning of what it takes to put on this type of event. Another kind of campaign, a couple other campaigns that have happened over the last couple of months is a Westjet Initiative. Again, this is a branding exercise to make everybody aware of the new service within Dawson Creek and to book their tickets ahead of the holidays. So that campaign is wrapping up this week. As well, our Tourism Dawson Creek team was able to launch a 3-week initiative in partnership with the Dawson Creek Chamber of Commerce and local businesses to promote shop local ahead of the holiday season. Finally, one other kind of initiative that we're putting forth, and it's actually launching in the next couple of weeks before the end of the year, is the Northern BC Ale Trail. Over the past probably 3 or 5 years, Destination British Columbia has worked with different regions in the province with the popularity of craft breweries that have popped up in all different regions of the province. That product has obviously taken a little bit longer to resonate in the Cariboo region in the north, but over the last couple of years we've seen new breweries, new restaurants pop up, which has then created a northern trail from Quesnel up through Fort St. John, Dawson Creek, around to Prince Rupert and Smithers. So again, working with operators such as Post and Row and others that really connect all of the dots, and another opportunity for visitors when they come to town. It's they're coming for activities and attractions, but then also another offering for them. So with that, that's our report for today. But welcome to any questions that Mayor and Council may have at this time.
Thank you, Dustin. Steph, Councillor Wilbur.
Thank you. I just have one question on the job fair. Is that open for service providers to also maybe have a booth or a table there? And the reason I'm asking is because some of the new contracts that were released to service providers for job skill training has a wage subsidy component for small business.
I believe so. I would contact Adam Rayburn. He's the one accepting the applications for the exhibitors. He hosts the one in Fort St. John as well, which is pretty big for them. So he'd have all, I don't want to speak for him, but he'd have all the answers. So Adam Rayburn would be the one to contact at Moose FM.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further for council? Well, thank you guys. We appreciate you coming in this morning, and we obviously it's good to have you here today, and we want to take the opportunity to wish everybody Merry Christmas, all the best of the holiday season to you and the staff, and really express our appreciation to how difficult, obviously, as Steph said, live events is a tough game right now, and so thank you to you guys. Thank you for everything, and all the best in 2022, and Merry Christmas and best of the holiday season.
Thank you. Thank you. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank you. 16.4, we have the report from our Director of Infrastructure, which would be the esteemed Kevin Henderson. Welcome.
Yes.
Good morning. Your Excellency.
Good morning. Yes, Devon is away for a period of time as he awaits their second child, who will be arriving, I believe it's December 30th. It's scheduled, so exciting times in Devon's family. So I have his report here. A couple things to touch on. Before it turned to winter, we were able to do some manhole sealing, and that was another thing that was identified in our sewer master plan update that we did, that during some heavy rain events, that's another area where rainwater gets into the sanitary system and overloads. So we did some inspections earlier this summer, identified a number of areas that could use some improvements. One of those was down in Finn's sub area, which is 118th. So we were able to get in there, and I think we did 4 or 5 manholes. And so we kind of did that as a bit of a test to see how it went, and it seemed to work well. And then the plan is next year we will probably put together a bit of a tender and do a number of additional ones. So that was good, and hope for positive results. Public Works, obviously we are now in the bit of the winter swing of things. We had in November, obviously, that one good dump of snow that got us going, and then the weather turned warm, and that created some challenges for us, as everyone's probably aware, that went from minus 17 and a foot of snow to a few days later to being +5, +7, and refreezing. So we fought the ice for a while, but I think we managed. The weather did hold after that, and we were able to get a lot of things cleaned up, thankfully, before it's really gotten cold. And we're anticipating a little bit more snow here in the coming days. So between snow and ice, it's keeping us busy. When it gets to this 25, 30 below, the roads do become very slippery, and we do have to sand numerous times in the same locations, just by nature of everything being so cold. So I appreciate everybody's patience with us out there and traveling public. Water treatment plant, they are taking advantage of this time of year, and they're going to be doing some work in some of our filters, doing some cleaning, doing some painting, also changing out some very old pneumatic valves, and putting in some newer ones. So that's happening. And in the watershed department area, we met with Murphy Oil and OGC here a few weeks back and had a great conversation. Murphy is proposing 2 pipelines to cross the Kiskatna just a kilometer or so upstream from our intake. So of course it's of interest to us. So we had a good discussion with Murphy and OGC, and Murphy was very forthcoming about what they're doing, and very willing to work with us, which is really what the whole watershed program is about, is those partnerships and relationships. And so we've got some good contacts with Murphy, and I know staff has chatted with them again and kind of ongoing. So we're feeling much more comfortable about what work they're going to do there, and I think that was a great meeting that we had. Other than that, we got a few stats in there, but I'll answer any questions if I can of council.
Thank you, Kevin. Councillor Parslow.
Kevin, those 2 pipelines, they're for gas, are they? They're not for oil?
That's correct. So gas pipeline, and then one would be a produced water
Thank you.
pipeline.
Okay.
Councillor Wilbur?
Thank you. I just have a question around the downtown core. So I know that the sidewalk and the cobblestone was taken out in front of the BMO, and I don't know if that was something the city did or the Bank of Montreal covered. But I know that on the other three corners, the cobblestone's lifting, and now with winter, it's really heaving. Do we have plans in the spring to be removing that and replacing it, or is that something that the businesses themselves will have to look at?
So through your worship, it is our responsibility, and what we've been doing under our annual sidewalk maintenance program is we've typically gone down and kind of repaired some of the worst areas. In front of Bank of Montreal this year, the cobbles were actually disintegrating and creating quite a problem. So rather than try, it's almost more work to try and pull bricks and put new bricks back in and fit them in, so we just replacing with concrete. So that's kind of an ongoing maintenance program. Saying that, and we've been talking about this for some time, is we need a bit of a bigger plan for the downtown on what we want to do as a community, because a lot of those sidewalks are in need of some repair. But it is a much larger program, obviously.
Thank you. Anything further for council? Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Hope we got our fingers crossed for Devon and baby coming and all that. So
I think it'll be good.
16.5, we have report from our development services manager.
He's out there.
Morning, Bill.
Morning.
Welcome. The floor is yours.
Thanks. Morning, everyone. I'll be presenting the Committee of the Whole report for Development Services for the month of November. Bit of an update on BC Energy Step Code. I know last Committee of the Whole meeting let you know that we had an energy advisor in the city of Fort St. John, but staff had some concerns as to the capacity of that energy advisor serving in Dawson Creek. So since then, we've reached out to a local contractor who's expressed interest in taking the energy advisor training. So he's writing his first exam mid to late January of next month. And also be working with an energy advisor in Prince George to attain certification. So local energy advisor serving Dawson Creek specifically, along with an additional energy advisor in the city of Fort St. John, will help build capacity and better position our city once STEP code is implemented in 2022. Another potential obstacle with BC Energy STEP code implementation is having access to the blower door equipment. So blower door tests are done at mid-construction and final construction. It's a huge component of meeting BC Energy STEP code, and the cost of that equipment is around $6,000. The Community Energy Association has a Northern STEP Code Accelerator Fund for local governments in the north, and this would cover 80% of that. So staff are applying for this funding opportunity, as having this testing equipment will remove that potential obstacle in implementing Energy STEP Code next year. Moving on to the building department, we continue to work on updating the building permit application checklists on our website. Bylaws continue to investigate complaints. No trends developing, but parking related violations make up just under 43% of those complaints. Engineering, they completed monitoring the 2021 construction activities for the 2021 capital projects. They also began design and review of the proposed 2022 capital projects, which include full reconstruction of 94th and 96th between 13th Street and 17th Street, and then never pronounce it right, Carmilo Phase 1, 89th Ave and 28th Street. So that's a phased project, just so residents have some access, as there's no lanes in that area, and it also gives emergency services access during that construction. management, operation team staff has been identified, as well as supplies, so they're prepared in the event of an emergency. And finally, Troy Greek passed his level 1 exam 2, so he's now a qualified level 1 building official, which is really good. And he's already into the level 2 courses as well. So, yeah, that summarizes my committee of the whole report. So,
thank you, Bill.
Yeah.
Council, any questions? One of the things to me that we saw it in our preliminary BC assessment, our preview assessment report, seeing an increase in residential property assessments and values, and we're seeing a pretty active residential market right now and seeing a decline in now inventory. I saw a really interesting stat the other day that the inventory that was available in the city was decreased by 1/3 in 2021 over what it was for the last 5 or 6 years. And so the I don't want to use the word worry, but the worry is our planning department in terms of if we start to see an escalation in development of now property development, residential property development, that planning piece is just a worry to me in terms of how and what we do. And I guess it flows under your bailiwick, but to Blair and Kevin in terms of, I know we've had that position posted for a bit. Has there been any interest or any uptake in Kevin?
Yeah, so through your worship, I guess the short answer is no, but we will look to repost and re-advertise and see if we can't garner some interest here in the new year. And you know, we'd kind of let it sit for a bit, and because we'd gone out a couple of times, so we'll now go out again and see if we can have any success finding a candidate. Just
like I said, just that to me, when you start to see that kind of indicator, and we're seeing value of property going up and inventory going down, and we start to see that, and that puts more pressure on our engineering development services area, and so just a worry. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Worship, and good afternoon. Is it no? Still good morning. Good morning, Bill. I just wanted to follow up on the continued work on updating building permit application checklist and website. I assume that's the work that was the result of the grant we got earlier in the year around kind of streamlining some of our, is that correct?
No, that's not the work of the grant.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a separate piece altogether.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, my question was based on the assumption of that, but it was just as that work unrolls or comes to fruition, I'd be interested in just having kind of a side-by-side comparison of what we're doing differently than we were before, just so, you know, that's always an issue when you're talking with constituents and potential investors about, you know, how are we trying to work with entrepreneurs to be open for business and stuff like that. So if we could know how we've improved as opposed to saying, yeah, we got this grant and we did things, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Just one other one I just think of to Kevin, or Blair, any aspect with the hospital in 2022 with that construction starting that puts additional kind of pressure on engineering, inspections, all of that stuff for us?
So through your worship, speaking with the contractors, obviously they're still in design stages. What they've told us is that we could see some drawings and packages probably later in 22, perhaps. They may start some work in 22, but they were hesitant to guarantee anything. There might be some groundwork, but it's likely to be spring of 23. But just out of, as we're talking dates and something that Bill had mentioned, talking about road construction, just with the current world we're in and the supply chain issues, chatting on Friday, PVC pipe, I'm told right now it's a 5-month lead time to get PVC pipe. So that may have some implications for us, as obviously any underground work that we're going to do is PVC, and it's the first thing that goes in before we start reconstructing roads. So we, I was chatting with Blair, we may look at procuring and supplying the pipe ourselves and ordering it here relatively soon, so we can actually have it come May, when we actually need it. Because if we wait until we go through a tendering process and so on, we may not get it till July. So there are some supply chain issues, as well as with the recovery from the floods in the south. And the amount of work down there, there may be some implications and impacts on contractor availability, and we just don't know. Time will tell.
Yeah, that's a good point. We should get on that and order that, if, and then just remove it from the tender stuff. Good thought. Thank you. Anything further, Councillor Parslow?
The large building going up on the Alaska Avenue that's been built for at least 2 years. Any expected completion date? Is there a requirement for somebody who starts a property to have it completed by a certain time, or can they go on for another 5 years if they want to?
So, through your worship, the building permit is good for 24 months from the date of issue, and then once it expires, the owner can apply for a new permit, and that permit is based on the cost of construction to complete the project. So that's labor and materials.
So that could be drawn out for quite a few years if they wanted to. There's no bylaws that say if you start something, you must complete it within a certain time?
We have a 2-year, our building permits are good for 2 years, so they can reapply.
And then they can reapply.
Yeah. We don't.
I tell you what, I would. I don't know how the rest of council is, so it could be just a private thing. But through some, how can I say this? Through some work with NDIT and support of some local operations here, I would really appreciate in knowing sometime the difference between a Class D, a Class C, or if there is such a thing, Class B quote. There's these different classifications when you go out. I'd like to know what the difference is for my own education in support of some local organizations. So that could be perhaps, is it a quick thing, or is it a... Can you? Are you prepared to put it in writing, Kevin?
So through your worship, engineering principles is, like you said, D, C, B, and A. Class D is 40% contingency. So Class D is when it's that original concept, it's really nothing more than a tabletop exercise. You kind of look at what you're going to do, and it's that very earliest stage, and you add 40% for contingencies because there are a lot of unknowns. As you work towards tendering, and you work through the process and the design drawings, and you've gone through a lot of iterations and answered a lot of those unknowns, you get down to what is a Class A, and that's your tendering, and that's 10% of contingency.
So when city awards contracts for different projects, are we usually operating at Class B?
So when we get to a tendering stage, we should have enough information to have a 10% contingency. That's the idea.
Class A?
Class A, yeah.
Okay. And what about road construction? Is that always Class A as well?
When we go to tender, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Or, sorry, anything further? Thank you, Bill. Merry Christmas. And to all the staff, everybody down in engineering, Merry Christmas, all the best. Great job this year, you guys. I did want to mention that, right? What a great job, I think, the capital projects, the paving, all of that stuff. I think we started out a little worrisome, but man, you guys did a great job this year in completing those capital projects, so good job. 16.6, we have a report from the Parks and Facilities Manager.
Excuse me, Your Worship, we have 11 o'clock delegation.
Oh, right, I'm sorry. So we'll move back into our agenda to our delegations, and we do have this morning, I gotta get my agenda back, Troy Clifford as the Provincial President of Ambulance Paramedics of BC, and this was put off from our last meeting, so good morning, Troy, welcome. It's good to have you join us this morning. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much for, you can hear and see me okay then? Just making sure we're all good?
Yep, we're good. We've got good sound and we can all see you.
Okay, thank you for allowing me an opportunity to have a conversation with you this morning. And just so I'm clear on timelines, it's a 10-minute presentation and allow you some questions if you wish.
Yeah, that's right. We give you the delegation has 10 minutes to do their presentation, and then we allow for additional time for council at the end of that to any questions.
Thank you. So I appreciate you guys allowing me the opportunity, and I apologize for the matter that precluded me from attending last meeting. So, but thank you to your staff for coordinating everything. And I'm coming to you from Atsuyas, which is where I work in my real job when I'm not president. I'm the chief of the ambulance station here is my where I come from. I've been in the ambulance service 33 years, and I'm in my second term as president of the Paramedics and Dispatchers of BC, which is 4,500 members across the province. And I'm sure that many of you have had interactions with our paramedics across the province and dispatchers. And that's really what this is, my conversation with municipalities and councils across the province has been since I started my term, but particularly since UBCM, when we realized there was a lot of gaps and probably misinformation and communications that were not going back and forth. And so I've taken it upon myself I recognized early on in that we weren't, it's been a frustration of mine for a while that the engagement at the municipal level from not only the ambulance paramedics, but primarily the ambulance service through BCEHS, who is the entity that's responsible for providing ambulance services under the Provincial Health Services Authority, and ultimately the Ministry of Health. And as you guys are probably well aware, we've had some challenges particularly in the last year, but for a number of years. And you guys have not been not exposed to it in the Peace region, and so I'm familiar with a lot of paramedics and in the Peace region. But really, a couple things I wanted to talk to you guys about today was really the challenges we've seen and how we can better work together, just as the ambulance paramedics and the professional voice. So in BC, we're a little unique compared to other unions in that we have a dual role. We're the union, obviously, that represents 4,500 paramedics and dispatchers, as I mentioned, and that's in every community of the province. But we're also the professional voice. And what I mean by that is we're the BC chapter of the Paramedic Association of Canada, which is the national body that represents paramedics in the professional side of things across the province. In BC, we don't have a college or a professional body. So we've always, since our inception as a union, held that dual role. And it makes us unique, but it also situates us very well to do the things that I'm doing right now with you. And that's why you see us lobbying and fighting for things that are not a traditional union role, and that's for service levels, additional resources, scope of practice, and all those sorts of things that are not traditionally part of a labor relations discussion. It works very well, and it situates us in a position of to advocate for our patients and paramedics on the professional side of things. And that's why you see me doing the things that we're doing. And it's really driven by our members that that's what they identify with, and that's how they see us representing and advocating for them. The other unique thing that has proven challenging in the number of years since we were moved back into the Health Authority. Prior to being moved under the Provincial Health Services Authority, we were a standalone entity under the Ministry of Health. And we were really focused on the public safety side of things as well as the health. But with the move in the early 2000s into the Health Authority, we've diversed ourselves significantly as an organization from the public safety side of things. And that's meaning our relationship in the emergency services, police, fire, ambulance, Coast Guard, search and rescue, which is a big component of us. We identify and we're a public safety occupation under the national standards, but that's how we interact and interoperable in the streets and out in the field when we're having major incidents and that. And as you know, police and fire are generally under municipal responsibility, and the ambulance service is under provincial. So it becomes a little more complicated. And I think that when we moved into the health authorities, that proved they diversed from that public safety side of things. And the reason I'm telling you this is the well-documented challenges we've seen this summer and over the summers with natural disasters has really exposed the ambulance service. And I think that's where we got to this summer when they realized that we didn't have an emergency preparedness, and that exposed the ambulance service, and it was questioned. In July, when the heat dome came, things like not opening EOC, and I think you guys know very well emergency management is a key role in municipalities, and you face all the same challenges regularly with fires and disasters, whether they're small mass casualty incidents and that. And historically, in my experience, we used to really engage in the municipal EOCs and as a partner. And that, as we know, for preparation and emergency management, planning and preparation and inter-organizational training is what prepares us for natural disasters. So in July, the minister announced a number of changes to the ambulance service in response to the public outcries that had been going on for a while. The heat dome was just, I call it the straw that broke the camel's back. Those issues had been going on for a long time. And you know, the minister made a number of announcements that improved ambulance services across the province. And he made a number of announcements of changes to the governance model, which reinstituting a BCHS board that's led by a former Vancouver Police Chief, Jim Chu, and a number of significant representatives on there that are very diverse. And with that leadership change, he also put in charge a new chief ambulance officer, which we've never had before. So this structure of governance was, and there were a number of significant other announcements with staffing and workload and et cetera, et cetera. And then he further enhanced that announcement on December 3rd with more announcements around scope of practice and additional things. So I believe we're on a track to recover. We still have significant out of services, and particularly in your area that we do. A lot of the rural and remote communities are very stretched, and that's a result of our recruitment challenges with the $2 an hour and the precarious on-call model that you're probably all familiar with. We have been able in the last year to enhance coverage with going to a 24-hour ambulance, full-time ambulance in Dawson Creek, as you probably know, and then enhanced scheduled on-call in the surrounding areas, which in the smaller, remote and rural, which has proven helpful, but the problem is we're not getting enough people into this profession. And as you know, being in a significant industry in your town, one of the big challenges we have is that medics in industry can make significant amounts of money. And when you have nothing to offer people from a recruitment perspective on wages and benefits, that puts a lot of pressure on people. And we're just not recruiting the people into this profession. But when they can go to industry as a new medic and make significant money, wages and benefits, why would they come into this profession, which is a great profession? But so those are some of the challenges we're working on. And I think I'll just conclude there, because really one of the biggest parts of this is engaging and have an opportunity to talk to me and build these relationships through my teams, and then I can steer you or answer your questions and go from there. So it's just a preliminary meet and greet and sort of throw out where we're at and the challenges we're facing, and then how we can work to better. And I think some of those things are really around the municipal emergency management and preparedness, and then also supporting you to continue to pressure and keep the pressure on the government to make sure that your communities are properly funded for ambulance services and we have the proper levels, because having one full-time ambulance without a day car that can do some of the backup transfers and that sort of stuff is problematic. So we need additional resources in communities, higher rural or urban centers like Dawson Creek and Fort St. John that do a lot of the interfacility transfers from the Peace region. So I'll leave it at that and just open it up for discussions and then just see where we can go with this conversation.
Troy, thank you so much. We appreciate, obviously, you being here today and your gesture of coming and presenting to council. So I'll throw it to council if anybody have any comments or questions. Councillor Parslow.
Well, I would thank you for your presentation. I found it very, very interesting. Are you going to have a presence at such things like UBCM and so on, and so there can be extensive dialogue with your organization? And are you going to be circulating a proposed action plan to try to improve a very necessary service so that we can, as a council, get some specific ideas from you and see which ones we can support.
So yes to your very your questions and comments are very well received. Yes, we I believe we sent out some part of our package as part of our UBCM presentation. So to answer the first question, we attend UBCM. It's been a little challenging, as you guys know, the last 2 years. But prior to COVID and the restrictions, we had a booth and we presented to UBCM. We've probably been doing that for 10 years. So we have that engagement and lobby efforts at UBCM, and that's a big signature event for us. The last 2 years with virtual, and I don't know who from there has attended, but it has not been as successful. We've had a virtual booth, but the last year was less engaging than this year. We had a lot more engagement, and that's where these dialogues came from. So yes, what I'll be doing is forwarding you a package, and there's a couple things like the community paramedic model that has not moved into urban centers like yours, where community paramedic was instituted a few years ago, and it's a support for community health, and it's paramedics that provide community health, supporting people so that we can divert them and not be in emergency situations. Like with the opiates, we know that it's not just a big city problem, it's in every community, with community health, with elders, with diabetes, these sort of things. So one of the presentations that we presented, and we've been well received by communities such as your level, is moving the community paramedic program into metro and urban areas. And that would allow us to deal with our mental health challenges and support paramedics, because we know that the best place for them isn't necessarily the emergency 911 system. And that will divert them away and get them the right help in the right situation. So in that package I'll send you, excuse me, is one of those proposals. And then if you were interested in continuing the dialogue, I can support you with how to communicate with the ministry. I've worked with a lot of communities. Revelstoke is another one, and Mackenzie and some of the ones in the north where we were able to lobby for increased service levels in those communities, working with the local MLAs and the mayors and the councils. And some of those communities have been successful in getting additional resources for their community. Everything's evidence-based and funding, obviously, but there are some obvious needs. And then one of the big things, just to answer on that, it's a long answer, but the rural and remote Indigenous framework, there's a significant increase of resources that are tied to that. And we're in discussions with the ministry and BCHS now, what those 55 resources that were announced April 20th last year by the Premier under that framework. There's additional 55 ambulances that are to be included that. And we're in discussions of how those will become permanent for communities like the north, like yours and Fort St. John, but more importantly, some of the rural and remote Indigenous communities in the north to really support that framework. So those are some exciting areas you can help us with.
Yeah, thank you. That's very interesting.
Thank you, and certainly I will speak that we would be more than happy to engage further in a dialogue around that. We're feeling the pressure through our own emergency services, through our fire department, and trying to help support the ambulance paramedics as they're getting called for service, and we're having to back them up because of the lack of resources that exist. So we would really appreciate the opportunity to engage further with you. And perhaps I'll reach out through our staff and our CAO, and we'll follow up with you in the new year.
That sounds excellent. Yeah, and you're right. The pressure it's putting on our first responder partners, our staffing resources and that ultimately puts pressure on your budgets when they're responding more or require additional training in that to support us in that first responder critical interventions. The public safety side of their role is what we accept and part of it, but they're increased responsive because of the ambulance service not being able to meet their service demands. It's putting pressure on a lot of municipalities. So we can continue that dialogue for sure. I'd love to have a further conversation with you on that.
We look forward to it, Troy. So thank you so much for engaging with us today. We really appreciate the opportunity to meet with you, and honestly look forward to engaging further in the new year, and we will absolutely follow that up. And so thank you. We want to wish you all the very best. Merry Christmas, and all the best to all of the first responders, the paramedics in our province, and the amazing job they do. And if you could extend that on our behalf, we would appreciate it.
I absolutely will. And I'd like to, just on behalf of all of them, I'd like to wish you all and all your families a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays, and whatever faith you celebrate, just enjoy the time with friends and family, and try and regroup in this world that we're in right now that's really tough.
We appreciate that, and we'll see you and talk to you for sure in the new year.
Thank you.
Thank you. So our next item, we're back onto our agenda, and we'll go to 16.6. We have a report from our Parks and Facilities Manager. Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor.
Welcome.
Your Worship and Council, thank you for having me today. Brief overview of what's happening in our departments. The Parks first-time seasonal supervisor has returned to his full-time job as an arena attendant. I want to say what an amazing job he did this year in revamping how and when we cut our parks to make sure that they stay cut. We figured out that we have close to about 15 miles of ditches, which we didn't really know about, so to have him to organize and to maintain all the ditches was really a good addition to our Parks Department. Some of the work that we did downtown was revamp all the trees and take out all the dead trees. We did apply for a grant through Tree Canada for $10,000, which last meeting you gave a letter of support for, so I thank you for that, and that is put through. Something that we're currently working is to update all of our procedures in the Parks Department to stay in compliance with the core certification that we received. In facilities, so we've just completed a full round of all of our maintenance on all of our heaters, on top of all of our buildings, which was a huge undertaking. We did that with a local contractor, and that was complete. We also installed new louvers at the Kin Arena, ice rakes at City Hall, over the main entrance, and we also completed the facilities built the Parks Department a new shed to storage all their fertilizer. The department is currently working on troubleshooting and maintaining boiler systems. This is an ongoing thing that we do every winter. We just completed with Roth IM's a firm, an architectural firm, and that does building assessments, and they completed the RCMP, Telecom, City Hall, and the Fire Department. Report should be finalized and available for us mid-January. Memorial Arena, the kitchen was updated with new appliances and cabinets. This will allow the recreation staff to hold more programs and improve safety within the facility by adding, what we did is we added a shut-off switch so the stove can be shut off in the mechanical room so children can't turn it on, which was an issue up there when the doors weren't locked. The arena is operating full capacity within our COVID-19 restrictions. Staff are working hard to maintain that. We're going to be closing one arena per week over Christmas like we do every year, and this is to make sure that we do all the cleaning and maintenance and anything that we do in mid-season. Kemborick Aquatic Center won a raffle through Commercial Aquatics this year, and we got a brand new pool vacuum cleaner, $4,000. And I thought that was awesome. We forgot that we put in our name for that, and all of a sudden they sent us this big congratulations, you won. So we're very happy because every 3 years we replace this in-pool vacuum cleaner that we're a saltwater pool, so it wears and tears, and this year we don't have to replace it, so we have a brand new one. We're completed all our capital projects. I don't know if you've been out to the pool and looked at our beautiful new flooring, but it looks amazing. The company did a great job. Building was upgraded with security cameras recently, and as well as a new security alarm system. And it is now monitored through CCSI. And that's it.
Thank you, Melina. Questions? Councillor Parslow.
CCSI.
Oh.
Is it a local monitoring system?
It is, their main office is in Grand Prairie. It's
Okay.
it's a company that, I don't know what they stand for. I'm gonna say
Doesn't
security,
matter.
the
It's
S is
a-
security. But, they've been doing security systems since 2008 when Duncan was in my position. And we have just upgraded, since I took over, the system hadn't been revamped, and we've upgraded the system to meet more standards, for it to work all the time.
So you're advising council that your success in that raffle means we can reduce the budget by 4,000?
No.
I didn't expect you to
Exactly what I
answer
was
the question.
Got some additional dough for some crosswalk. Thank you. I saw this morning, I thought on the new orders about now the requirement that there is for, we have to ensure scanning.
I think that has changed somewhat, Your Worship. I would look to, Aaron just sent out an update. Go ahead, Shante.
Through your worship, so the scanning is supposed to be for all facilities. Within that information, it started as of Sunday night as well, but they still have exemptions will be for pools, program sports for children and youth.
Okay,
Will
good.
be exemptions for that still.
Awesome, thank you. Anything further from Melina? Thank you so much for coming in this morning, honestly.
Thank you
and
very much for having me.
we want to wish you the very best, Merry Christmas, and all the best in the holiday season. Thank you very much. 16.7, we have a report from our recreation manager. Good morning.
Good morning. Erin is on a well-deserved vacation, so I am going to just do a quick brief overview from this information. So one of the things we just want to highlight is that we are almost completed our mitigation of the management software, which is called Perfect Minds. It's still going to take us another month to finally get completed with the other one, so crossover will be completed hopefully by the end of January. Fees and charges will hopefully be completed by February 2022. We did start that this year and had to postpone it due to the mitigation of the new software system. We did want to do a shout out to Green for Life, as they have become our sponsor for yoga. Sarah Miller works for them, and she is one of the yoga instructors, and she has helped us receive a $1,500 grant for yoga for 2022, as well as a $500 grant for some of the Christmas activities that we're doing over Christmas. So very thankful for Green for Life. Another area we had to reduce our hours for the Kenmoric Aquatic Center for Christmas hours due to the recruitment of staffing. So the hours will be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week from 3 to 8 p.m. as well as next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from 3 to 8 p.m. So please pay attention to the schedule, and if there is any changes and we are able to recruit a few more staff, we'll extend the hours. On that part, we just want to say that we want to have a shout out to, we've been working with Aubert. They are helping us partner to find and recruit anyone from 16 years up to however old that would like to become a lifeguard. There is some funding available through them. They would fill out the application form, and we'll send out the sponsor form as well. So there's substantial funding for that. We have people that would like to be a lifeguard, a swim instructor, climbing wall instructor. So that process, we are working with them to complete that, and we will be advertising it. It is going to be truly amazing for us, and I believe that it doesn't just happen in Dawson Creek, it also happens in Chetwynd and Fort St. John, but we have worked with Aubert, and we're very thankful. We believe that this might be an opportunity for us. So whether you're 16 or even 15 years old and just not able to have the funding, you'll be able to go through that process and become a lifeguard, and we think that that will be one way that will be able to assist us. We offered free lifeguarding through the LAF program that we gave the program away for free. So we're hoping that this will happen as well. The next step that they have is if you're not a swimmer, you can also apply for funding to take some private lessons and improve your swimming instructing. So we are hoping that this is going to be an area that will help us get back to opening and having our staff be able to go there. Other thing that we'd like to talk about too is thanks to QP Local 2403, they have supplied 98 presents for our city staff this year for Christmas. So part of our community services team went and volunteered this weekend. They became elves. So we had Elf Aaron, Elf Tiffany, and Elf Chelsea, who delivered any of the gifts that they could around the community for the city staff. So that was exciting on there. And one last note that we'd like to talk about with the Kemborg Aquatic Center is that from last year to this year, we have increased $54,000 in revenue from 2020 to 2021. So we're very thankful for that. We do have people that are coming. We also increased the fees from 50% to full rate, but we are moving forward with people coming back and swimming, so we're thankful for that as well. So are there any questions?
Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Shantae, for your report. I just had kind of follow-up questions and comments with respect to the Trans-Canada Visio Eco Counter. That still is a piece of technology that fascinates me. Certainly, I think we have, 37 parks in town. And that's one of those amenities where it's always, out of sight, out of mind. If you don't see people using it, it's hard to gauge how well subscribed that particular amenity is. So I think the fact that we have an idea with respect to how many people are visiting Kin Park, I'm not sure what exactly constitutes a visit, whether it's just passing through that, whatever. Either way, it's fascinating, and I think I mentioned this to Ross when he was still here, and I don't know if we ever saw the report back, or I know this is a sponsored kind of piece of equipment, but what the cost would be around utilizing this for other parks, if we were to have that be part of our, just, whether it's an annual program so we can gauge how much use our parks are getting while we look at what we prioritize with respect to maintenance and stuff like that, and informing those decisions around investment. I know we've had a couple conversations around decommissioning parks before, so just as we continue to go through those conversations, this particular piece of technology strikes me as something that might be a valuable tool. Thank you.
Through your worship, I believe that they are about $5,000, so we maybe look at funding. I know that was, thank you for bringing that up, because there's over 26,000 people at the end of November that have went in to that park, and you're correct. Each time a person passes by is considered a click on there, but it is a great piece of data for us to know who's using our park, so we can look at that, but there is a substantial cost, and I believe that's what Erin said. I can confirm when she gets back from vacation to confirm that.
Councillor Parslow.
I want to talk about the Kemborg Aquatic Center. So how many lifeguards do we have right now that are working there with this revised schedule? Because the number must have dropped, right, to make the... So do you know the approximate number?
The number right now, I believe, is 8 right now.
Okay.
So the staff are doing an amazing job trying to keep us going right at this present time.
So what would be needed to operate the pool 5 days a week and back to the normal hours? I mean, are we short? I mean, I know this is ballpark, and I don't expect you to this to be perfectly accurate, but pretty close. To go to 5 days a week, normal operating hours, do we need 4 more lifeguards? Or 5, about that number?
So right now we're missing a 40-hour position and a 25-hour position right at present time. We're in the process of interviewing 2 new lifeguards that are adults. So we're hoping for January and the new year that they might be able to assist us, not necessarily within those positions.
Right. Just you'll know this, but one of the challenges I've talked to some people over the years, not just recently, but over the years, about lifeguarding. It's a very well paid job, and the perception out there is that you're called in to work a couple of hours, and you go home, and then you get another couple of hours, and it's so disruptive to the life of the person. So that is maybe historical, but that was the perception a couple of years ago. I've had no recent conversations. Is there ways of packaging employment so it enables people to take on another part-time job rather than being expected to show up for a few hours, go home and come up for another few hours. Is that the old pattern or is that still the pattern?
Through your worship, what we did is a few years ago, we developed some 15-hour positions, and then what happens is we'd be able to schedule those positions. So all of our part-time positions, if they're 15, 21, 25, or 40, are scheduled. So then you'll know when you work for that period, when the schedule comes out, and the schedule comes out for 3 months at a time. What happens is when you're a casual lifeguard, that would be, you'd be picking up certain shifts. You need to have 2 shifts per month as per a collective agreement. So then if you pick up some casual shifts or some emergencies because somebody's sick, or whatever that could be where some of those positions are. We are trying to make it a little bit better, but of course we have to meet the operational needs, and is it always perfect? Because right now we're open Saturday to Wednesday. And to be a lifeguard, you are a very special person. I admire them for what they do. They are very special people to be able to go out there and do that work, and it does pay substantially well. But you need to be able to stand up, you need to be able to pay attention and be able to scan and be able to save people from drowning and be able to alert that. So they're very special people.
Certainly the staff I've interacted with in the last few years are just of that very nice people. So I'm just wondering if the 15 or 20 hours, if you like, are they 3 hours a day, or are they nice chunks of time so they can take on another part-time job?
They can take another part-time job, through your worship, sorry. They can take another part-time job. They have to be a minimum of 2 hours. So they can take another part-time job, but one of the challenges is that not necessarily you might want to work 40 hours as well, right? And so it's a issue all across the province, all across Canada, the shortage of lifeguards, adult lifeguards. So we are trying to do something with Aubert to hopefully change, hopefully find that financial, so hopefully they'll hear us, and hopefully we'll see some advertising, and it'll be how we can advertise it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Thank you, Shantae. 16.8, we have a report from our corporate officer. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Just have about 3 items to highlight from my report. First of all, something I didn't include in my report was the voting system. We finally got that working in council chambers, so we're happy to report that that part of our project is complete. Next, records management. The administration section has been completed. We're just going to do the year-end rollover, and that'll be our final training. We're on to the HR department, and their records management system is being transferred to the new system. And Tanya has agreed to continue on with her employment and on to the next departments until all the city has been transferred over. The next item, freedom of information and protection of privacy. Now, there's been changes to the Act, and that has required us to develop a privacy impact assessment process. And we have currently completed this task with different projects. What happens is if a new program comes along for the city, we would assess the program. We would see, are we accepting personal information? We make sure that we require as least amount of information as possible. And then once we do that, then we make sure that we store them securely, and then that we only keep them for a small amount of time as possible, and then we destroy them safely as well. So what we need to do is just develop a procedure that's citywide that works for our city. And what they've done with the Act is they've made it flexible for each community just to develop their own process that meets their own needs. And the basic FOI training has been completed by all our admin staff. So that is another project we've completed this year. And the last item I wanted to point out was our kindness meters. We did receive a $300 donation from Aubert, and I just wanted to thank them for that. And January we will be doing awards for that. So stay tuned for more information on that. And besides that, just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Brenda. Any comments, any questions? Councillor Wilbur.
I just wanted to touch base on the kindness meters. So that money came from staff who wears their O'Bear hoodies every Friday and then makes a contribution of $2 to $5. And our peers program, which our original 7 were people in the community who are suffering from homelessness or addictions, and they've overcome that, and they contributed to the city cleanup. They helped the garden club set up flowers at the fall fair and exhibit, and so they received a donation for that, so that money was put forward towards kindness meters.
Very cool. Very good job. Thank you to them and to you guys for administering that and donating to the kindness meter. Anything further? Thank you. So now we'll have a motion to recess to closed, and we got agenda items 4.1, section 90 minutes. Agenda items 3.1, 7.1, 8.1, and 9.1 are under section 91K, negotiations and related discussions for provision of municipal services. So if I can have a motion to recess to close, Councillor Wilbur, second Councillor Kemp, Councillor Parslow.
No.
Good. All those in favor, voting is on. And it's carried. Thank you. And so we'll take just a very quick 2-minute recess to allow for Carl to remove his stuff, and we'll carry on into closed. Thank you.